a sealed evidence box, buried deep in the university's basement archives. He wasn't supposed to be down there, but after classes reopened, the campus felt alive again, and Mark's curiosity had always been his worst habit. Dusty shelves stretched for miles, filled with forgotten records, photographs, and documents no one had touched in years. But the box he pulled out that night was different. It was heavier than the rest, sealed with rusted metal clasps. A thick label stretched across the top, nearly peeled away, but 3 words in faded red ink were still visible: "Return to safe house." Mark laughed nervously at the melodramatic wording. It looked like something straight out of a bad movie. Inside, he found a VHS tape, black plastic cracked on the side, with no markings other than a strip of masking tape scrawled with the number 047. He almost left it there. Almost. But curiosity gnawed at him. Why would a university keep something like this locked away? Later that night, Mark brought the tape back to his small apartment off campus. His roommate, Daniel, was already half asleep when Mark fumbled with the old VHS player they kept for nostalgic movie nights. "What are you doing with that thing?" Daniel muttered. Mark shrugged. "Found it in the archives. Just want to see what's on it. Probably some boring lecture or security footage." The tape hissed as it loaded. At first, the screen filled with static, lines crawling downward like insects. Then, a faint hum began, low and vibrating, as though the speakers weren't strong enough to contain it. The screen flickered, and words appeared in pale white font. "Property of National Broadcast Services. Unauthorized viewing is prohibited." Daniel sat up, frowning. "What the hell is this?" Before Mark could answer, the message cut to black. Then an image faded in an empty hallway, fluorescent lights flickering above. The walls were pale green, lined with doors that had no handles. The camera angle never moved, but the hum grew louder, shaking the room. Mark leaned forward. "This doesn't look like campus footage." Suddenly, a voice crackled through the static. It was faint, distorted, like someone speaking from inside a tunnel. "If you are hearing this, you are not supposed to be here." Daniel grabbed the remote. "Okay, nope. Turn it off." But Mark didn't move. He couldn't. The words on screen began to distort, melting into each other. Then, without warning, the image froze. A single frame held steady, a blurred figure standing at the far end of the hallway, motionless, its face turned toward the camera. The hum stopped. Silence filled the room. Mark whispered, "Did you see that?" The tape screeched, and before Daniel could react, the screen went black again. White letters crawled onto the screen, slower this time, almost as if written by hand. "Do not watch past 047. The tape clicked, still rolling, waiting for someone to decide whether to obey. Daniel snatched the remote and hit pause. "Mark, I'm serious. This is some messed up government tape or something. We should just stop here." But Mark couldn't pull his eyes away from the black screen. The warning glowed in stark white. "Do not watch past 047. His hands trembled, but his curiosity burned hotter than his fear. "It's just a scare tactic," he said. "Probably some old training film. We're not going to find out what's on it if we quit now." Against Daniel's protests, Mark pressed play. The screen flickered back to life. The hallway returned, same endless row of doors, same flickering lights. But this time, the camera angle shifted. Slowly, unnaturally, it began to move forward. The sound of static blended with faint footsteps, though neither of them could tell if it was part of the tape or something inside their apartment. Daniel leaned closer. "Wait, are you hearing that? The steps?" Mark nodded, unable to speak. The camera glided past door after door. Each one had a number stenciled onto it, but the digits blurred and twisted like liquid, never settling long enough to be read. Then, suddenly, the frame cut to black. A voice spoke again, clearer this time, though still warped with static. If you are still watching, you have made a mistake. Daniel cursed under his breath. That's it. I'm turning this off. But before he could, the screen erupted in a flash of images, so fast their eyes couldn't keep up. A pale face stretched wide as if screaming. A hand pressed against glass. A stairwell that descended into nothing but blackness. Each image lasted no more than a fraction of a second, but the impact made both of them recoil. Then the hallway returned, but it wasn't empty anymore. The blurred figure was closer now, its body twitching with unnatural spasms. The camera zoomed in, jerking violently, until the figure's face nearly filled the frame. It had no eyes, just dark, hollow sockets staring straight through the screen. The audio warped into a shrill tone, piercing and painful. Mark covered his ears, but the noise vibrated through his bones, rattling every nerve in his body. Daniel shouted, "Turn it off, Mark! Turn it off!" Mark grabbed the remote, but the buttons didn't respond. The tape kept rolling. The screen glitched, distorting the figure until it stretched into impossible shapes, filling the frame with twisting shadows. Suddenly, the screen went black again. Silence. White text appeared. This time, the words dragged slowly across the screen, almost hesitant, as if something alive was writing them. "The door is open now." A sound came from the apartment hallway outside. A soft creak, like a door's hinges groaning. Both men froze. Daniel whispered, "That wasn't the TV." Mark turned his head toward the apartment door. It was still shut, locked with 2 bolts. Yet the faint echo of footsteps seemed to creep closer, each step slow and deliberate, as if something had entered when the tape had warned them not to. The TV screen flashed once more, showing the hallway again, except this time, it wasn't the one on the tape. It was their hallway. The screen glowed with a grainy image of their apartment hallway. Same cracked wallpaper, same faded carpet. Even the dent in the wall where Daniel once dropped a chair. Mark's breath caught. That's here. Daniel stood, backing away from the TV. No, this is a trick. It's some old tape of another place that looks the same. It has to be. But even as he spoke, the image shifted. The VHS camera angle tilted left toward the door of their apartment. And there, on the screen, Mark and Daniel saw something that made their stomachs drop, shadows moving just beneath the crack of the door. A soft knock echoed through the room. Once, twice, 3 times. Daniel spun toward the door, but it remained locked, bolts still in place. "This isn't real," he whispered. "It can't be real." On the screen, the door slowly creaked open. The camera angle panned downward, revealing a pair of pale feet stepping inside. Mark stumbled back. "Oh my God, it's in here." Daniel lunged forward, yanking the VHS from the player. The TV screeched with static, but even after the tape was out, the image remained grainy footage of their apartment, the figure slowly moving closer. "That's not possible," Daniel stammered. "It's unplugged, it's out." But the TV didn't care. The figure's face filled the screen again, eyeless sockets staring, lips twisting into something that almost resembled a smile. The apartment grew colder, each breath turning into visible fog. Mark's skin prickled, his chest tight with dread. The hum that had been coming from the TV earlier now pulsed through the entire room, vibrating the floorboards. Then the screen went black again. White text appeared, jagged and broken. "You should not have watched past 047. The lights in their apartment flickered once, twice, and then went out completely. Only the faint glow of the TV remained. A new sound emerged. Not static this time, but whispering. Low, incomprehensible voices overlapping, as if dozens of people were speaking all at once, just beneath the surface of hearing. Mark clutched his ears. "Make it stop." Daniel fumbled for his phone, trying to turn on the flashlight, but the screen stayed dead. No signal. no power. Nothing worked. From the corner of the room, the whispers grew louder. Not from the TV this time, from the dark. Mark turned his head slowly, his heart hammering. In the shadows, a shape stirred. Something tall, its outline barely visible against the black. He tried to move, but his body refused to obey. The TV flickered again, showing the same figure now standing inside their living room. Its eyeless sockets glowed faintly white, like headlights bleeding through fog. And then the words returned, filling the screen. The recording continues. You are inside it now. The hum grew deafening. Mark's vision blurred, the room spinning around him. He couldn't tell if he was still in his apartment or inside the tape. Daniel screamed, his voice cutting through the static. And then the screen went dark. When Mark opened his eyes, the world was wrong. The air buzzed with a constant hum, louder than his own heartbeat. Fluorescent lights flickered above him, stretching down an endless hallway, pale green walls, door after door. It was the same hallway from the tape. Mark stumbled forward, dizzy, his footsteps echoing too loud. Behind him, Daniel's voice called out, frantic and broken. Where the hell are we? Mark, this isn't real. It can't be real. But it felt real. The floor was solid beneath his feet. The air was cold enough to sting. Somewhere far down the hall, something scraped against the tiles. A slow dragging sound that made Mark's skin crawl. One of the doors rattled violently, though it had no handle. The noise spread, another door thudded, then another, until the entire hallway came alive, pounding as if something inside each room wanted out. Daniel clutched Mark's arm. His face was pale, eyes wide. We're inside it, the tape. We shouldn't have watched. A voice boomed from nowhere, distorted and metallic. You were warned. 047. The hallway stretched longer, walls bending unnaturally, as though the building itself were breathing. The hum grew into a roar, vibrating their bones. Suddenly, every door stopped shaking. Silence fell. Then, one door creaked open. Darkness spilled out like smoke, swallowing the floor. From within, a figure emerged, tall, twitching, its face still blurred, hollow sockets staring. But now it wasn't trapped behind glass. It was here, with them. Daniel broke first. He bolted down the hall, footsteps echoing endlessly. Mark shouted after him, but his voice was drowned by the roar. The figure moved, jerking closer with each flicker of the lights. Mark turned, running in the opposite direction. No matter how far he went, the hallway stretched on forever, doors multiplying, walls shifting. His lungs burned, legs aching, but the end never came. The lights flickered again, and suddenly, Daniel was there in front of him, collapsed on the floor. His eyes were gone, two black sockets leaking a thin trail of blood. His lips moved soundlessly, whispering words Mark couldn't hear. Mark staggered back, terror clawing at his chest. The figure loomed closer. The hallway lights snapped off. Total darkness. Only the TV's glow remained. Mark blinked and saw his living room again, empty except for the VHS still rolling inside the player. On the screen, he watched himself standing in the hallway, eyes wide with terror, just as he had moments ago. A new message appeared in blocky white text. Archive footage complete. Return to safe house. Mark screamed at the screen, slamming the buttons, but nothing responded. The image froze on his face, his real face trapped inside the tape. The hum faded, leaving only silence. The apartment door creaked open. The screen cut to black. And then, one final message appeared, scratched and uneven, as though carved into the glass itself. Do not rewind.